presentation and special guests from Dyson. You've seen them in your house, you've seen them in your, well, in all of these different appliances, but you're going to learn today about how important problem solving is to Dyson and how you really have a unique opportunity to take the work that you're working on or come up with a new idea and actually submit it. It could be something you're working on for the Beal Butterworth competition. It could be something for the New Venture competition. It could be some idea that you're inspired with today. But we have two awesome guests and representatives who are going to share with you the opportunity. And at the end of the day, my favorite part about the presentation, this whole thing is about solving problems worth solving. So if you think you have a problem that's worth solving, then you should consider yourself as fair game for this competition. Put your hands together unless you have a pizza in it for our Dyson guests.
Awesome. What an intro. Thank you. It's been amazing to be here on campus today, so thank you, and also for you guys all being here today. I'm Sammy. I manage our U.S. James Dyson Foundation, which is Dyson's charitable arm, and our ultimate mission is to inspire the next generation of problem solvers, which is why we are here today. And then with me today is Kate. Kate, you want to do a brief intro?
Yeah, I'm Kate. I work at Dyson as a reliability engineer. My background is actually in chemical engineering, so you'll hear a little bit about my story later on. But happy to be here.
Awesome. So as I mentioned, I manage our charitable arm, which is the James Dyson Foundation. And what we do and how we accomplish our mission is we take the engineering that's inside of our machines here, we turn it into STEM resources to give students through the K through 12 level real world examples of how engineering can solve problems. We also bring in volunteers. Kate volunteers for all of our different workshops we do from the K through 12 level to university level 2. So we bring volunteers into school. We also support medical and scientific research initiatives in our local community, particularly in Chicago, where our U.S. headquarters is. And then, of course, the James Dyson Award. You're going to hear a lot about that, but it's our annual international design and engineering competition for university students and recent graduates. And so, yeah, I'll hand it off to Kate.
Cool. So I'm Kate Kraft. Again, like I said, I work as a reliability engineer at Dyson. My category I cover is hair care. So all of these lovely products up here fall under me. I cover for the entire Americas region. So everything from Canada all the way down to our new emerging markets in South America. And the hair care category falls under me. So like this says up here, I graduated with my bachelor's in chemical engineering. So you're probably wondering, like, what does chemical engineering have to do with products? Honestly, everything. So as a chemical engineer, and typically as any engineer, you're just learning how to solve problems. Different scales, different types, all different backgrounds, you're solving problems. So I knew that I did not want to work in the traditional oil and gas industry that most chemical engineers go into. I had plenty of friends that did that. Not an industry I want to be in. So I knew I wanted to be in consumer goods and products. So that's where I focused my time. My first stint, I worked at a company called Community Coffee. It is a Southeast regional coffee manufacturer. They manufacture everything from ground coffee, whole bean, all the way down to K-Cups. If you have ever flown on a Southwest flight, you have drank coffee that I have produced. So I worked with the K-Cups. I was part of their rotational program, so I did a couple different stints. I worked in packaging design. So I decided I wanted to be a quality engineer, and I decided to work at a company called Blue Air. They manufacture air purifiers, so I was the sole quality engineer for Blue Air Americas in the quality division. And now I'm here at Dyson, so I cover hair care products, like I said, from Canada all the way down to our emerging markets in South America. So you're probably wondering, what do I do every day? It depends, honestly. So every day is a different type of challenge. Our typical cycle is as shown above. We identify issues, we investigate those issues, and we figure out how we're going to solve those issues. Issues can range from how customers are using them down to product faults themselves. It honestly just depends. We do have a really small engineering team in the US. Obviously, we have a huge global footprint. We have thousands of engineers elsewhere. Our engineering team in the US is fairly small. So I do get the opportunity to do cool stuff like this. I was honored to serve as a James Dyson Award judge last year for both the US and Canada. That is our little team up there in the top. That is from our Christmas party. The theme was illumination. It is typical that people design costumes that are pretty elaborate and wearable, so we went as thunderstorms, which was pretty cool. I've also gotten to do some pretty cool launch events. So recently we relaunched the Air Wrap with new attachments. So I was very privileged to lead launch events in Mexico City, Toronto, and LA. And part of my job is also sharing our lovely technology that's behind our units. So I have gotten to contribute to some pretty cool articles in Forbes and Insider and things like that. think there's a video.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We can see if it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, it didn't
Maybe
work.
not.
There was a video on that slide, but we're going to skip it. It's basically showcasing some of our quality testing we do in our factories. We do a lot of failure testing and usage testing, basically just banging stuff against a wall, trying to simulate thousands of times over how customers are going to use our products, and then how those products are failing and how we can adjust our design for those failed products. You might be thinking these are products, right? Like mostly mechanical engineering, mostly design students. That's not the case. We have so many different fields that Dyson engineers are working in, and this is just a small sampling of those. We have everything from batteries and electronics, thermodynamics, connectivity and app engineers, down to chemistry engineers as well. So it's pretty cool. So over the years, we've tried to address a lot of different problems, a lot of them successfully, some of them unsuccessfully, with the most famous failure being the Dyson car. You can look it up. It's one of our, what I call famous failures. We designed an electric car that ended up being too expensive to commercialize, but we did have a prototype, which was pretty cool. All the way back to, I think, what is this? 1993, DC-01, which was our original vacuum. This was sought out to solve the problem of loss of suction with vacuums and also the vacuum bag. So a typical vacuum, I guess back in the day, before any of us in here were born, vacuums had bags. Those bags relied on that empty void space to draw suction. As that filled up with dust and debris, you're going to lose suction because that space is being filled up with the dust and debris. So James sought out to solve that problem, and he designed what is now the iconic vacuum design that you're going to see replicated across all different companies with that clear bin, no loss of suction. We've addressed a bunch of different problems throughout the years, with the recent being the Dyson Zone. This is our newest product. This is sought to eliminate all different types of pollution within your normal commuting environment. So noise pollution and air pollution are the two that this is designed for. It is a pair of noise canceling headphones along with an air purifying visor. So as you're commuting through your day, you are not being embraced by pollution, so to speak. So before I talk a little bit more about engineering at Dyson, just wanted to give a little overview of where our company is today.
We make products that use interesting technology. If you decide to do something different, I believe that you find a better way to solve that problem. Keeping the floors and surfaces clean with a vacuum cleaner and purifying the air are much more important than ever imagined.
Pretty sure. Smack on the ground.
Yeah.
A 5-year plan to invest into new technologies and into new products.
I really want to back and employ young people that have the will, the ingenuity to solve today's and tomorrow's problems. Pioneering and doing things differently, maybe that's frightening. Actually, it is frightening, but that's not a reason not to do it. We ought to do the impossible.
So that's where we are today. Thank you. Thank you for the claps. Just a couple of the facts. We don't call Dyson customers customers. We call them owners. They are owners of our products. They are users of our products, and it is an honorable title to call them owners rather than customers. We have a really big engineering team, 5,000, constantly growing. Our presence in the US is small, but our presence globally is very large. We do have 156 undergraduate engineers. One of my coworkers is actually part of the first cohort. It's the Diet Institute. It is based out of the UK, and it is an undergraduate program where they get a degree and also are an apprentice for Dyson. So they are working at Dyson part-time while they are getting their degree, and then a lot of them go on to postgraduate, like my coworker Rosie, work for Dyson as well. We are in 84 markets, constantly growing, constantly expanding. 180 different Dyson sites in 33 countries, and one Dyson motor and Dyson machine is manufactured every 2 seconds. So we manufacture all of our motors in-house, coming out of our PAM facility, which is in Philippines. So all of these are research and development facilities. Like I said, we have a presence everywhere, but these are our hubs for our research, design, and development. Our campus in Malmesbury is kind of like a Google-esque campus. Like, if you hear someone saying they're going to Malmesbury, chances are they're going there because Dyson is there. PAM, like I said, is in the Philippines. That's where we manufacture all of our motors. We just opened a new office in Singapore out of the St. James Power Station. It was actually named the St. James Power Station before we decided to open an office there, so it's kind of a funny little name. We're also in Malaysia, Shanghai, and Helvington as well. So, one of the best ways to talk about our design process is walking through some of our products, how we've figured out problems over the years. So, like I said earlier, the first one, DCO1 vacuum, solved the problem of the bagged vacuum. And we didn't develop this. James actually took an idea that is used in industry for dust collection and turned that small scale into a vacuum. And the most notable one of recent is the supersonic hairdryer, which I can talk about a little bit more in detail later. So let's talk about the vacuum first. So at Dyson, our kind of slogan is to solve problems that others ignore, and we always start by identifying what is the problem that we're looking at, trying to solve whatever problem it is. In the case of the vacuum, it was that models that use bags are going to be clogged, they're going to lose suction power over time, and also, like, it's a vacuum bag, you're going to have to throw it away. It's not really recyclable, it's not reusable, that's horrible for the environment, right? So from this idea comes our cycle, from this problem is coming our cycle of ideas, which are created, tested, prototyped against, tested, failed, cycle continues, right? Until we have come up with a design that we are confident in to produce a product about or to solve whatever problem we're trying to address. So quite often as we are trying to solve these problems, the solution can become more complicated than we think, but that's where we go back to the drawing board and we go, hey, what can we do to make this problem and this solution come to fruition? So central component to all design processes is prototyping. So at Dyson, we start bread and butter cardboard, right? We're starting with cardboard, we're building a prototype just to kind of get an idea of the problem we're trying to solve and get a step towards our solution. This can go all the way to obviously 3D modeling, 3D printing, all the way down to we do have some small scale production facilities where we can produce more advanced prototypes as well. So I'm gonna ask a question to the audience. Does anyone know off the top of hand how many prototypes James developed before he was producing?
Answer
You
this
can't
one.
answer. How many prototypes James developed before he got to the DCO1?
27.
Way more than that.
A lot more.
Yeah,
But good guess.
more than that. It's a lot.
A lot.
More than that.
1,000.
More than that.
10,000.
Less
Less
than
than
that.
that.
We'll meet you in the middle. It was 5,127 prototypes.
So he failed 5,126 times before he came to his solution. So inspiration can be found anywhere. This is James's inspiration. So up top of there, this is kind of my bread and butter with chemical engineering. I focused on pollution control. So that is a cyclonic separator. That is actually collecting dust using centrifugal force. So that air is actually put in perpendicular, and because it's spinning around, that dust is actually flying to the outside, and then gravity is pulling it down. This is pretty commonly used in industries that are very dusty. I worked in coffee. We had one of these on top of our roasting facility. So I'm very familiar with this. So he actually took this inspiration. He actually climbed up there to look at this, look at the insides, take some notes, measured it, everything, so he could develop this product. So now it's an iconic design, right? You go to the store, you go to Best Buy, I don't know, you go to Target, every vacuum is going to have basically the same technology that James developed. So that is the original iconic design, but obviously we've changed since then. That's one of our latest ones there. So to this day, like, our products are still winning awards for design and engineering, and we've just continued to disrupt that category. So now that you kind of have an understanding of how our design process works, I will talk through my favorite category, hair care. So I will take 3 answers from the audience here. Can anyone give me 3 ways the current design of a hairdryer could be frustrating? Yep.
It has to be plugged into an outlet.
Yeah.
They're loud.
They're
That's
loud.
a good
They are
one.
loud.
They are
I'll
loud.
take one more.
could have that.
They could have that problem. Yeah. They're heavy. Yeah. Any more? There's no wrong answers. If it's something that frustrates you about your hairdryer, I would love to hear about it. Correct. Yeah.
Yes, they're very hot.
So majority of these problems we attempted to address with the supersonic. So if you've seen the supersonic before, it looks like this. Deconstructed, it looks like this, right? There's a lot of technology crammed into this hairdryer. It's not just a heating element, it's not just a motor, it's not just some plastic casing with a plug. There's a lot going on in here. So it took a while to get to this stage. So these are just 11 of the 600 different prototypes that it took to create the supersonic. And when laid out like this, it might look like it was a pretty linear process. We went from A to B, B to C. But a lot of these were happening simultaneously, or we backtracked on those prototypes because we failed, we learned, and we went back to it. So I'll walk you through a little bit deeper on the design process. So creating the supersonic involved finding out all different frustrations owners had with their hair and owners had with current hairdryer design. So on our new products team, we look at the front end and explore new ideas for solving problems. So many of these problems are really hard to solve. Hair dryers are really noisy, right? It's blowing air, it's blowing it really fast. It's gonna be noisiest right up to your ear too, so it's really close. So this is just an image of some of the prototypes that were made for the motor that's used in our supersonic. And our final motor looks a little bit something like this. So this is our current design. This is the V9 digital motor. Combined with air multiplier technology, it produces a high velocity jet of controlled air that dries hair quickly and allows for precision styling. So like you said, hair dryers are heavy, right? You know why they feel heavy? The motor's located in the head. So you're constantly fighting against that weight. You're fighting against gravity, almost doing this like seesaw motion with a hair dryer. We heard from salon owners that anytime they're using their hair dryer, they actually got shoulder fatigue because they were constantly fighting. It was like doing a seesaw motion all the time. So what we did is we actually moved the motor to the handle. This allows, obviously it's still a heavy hair dryer, but it's more ergonomic to hold because all of the weight is in your hand and you're not having to fight against gravity as you are using your hair dryer. So this impeller actually spins at 110,000 RPM, which is 7 times faster than a Formula One engine. Just a fun fact.
And similar to, so different motors, right? But the
Yep.
same like similar technology is in here, and then the same with
Correct.
the purification fan and heaters too.
Yep, so all of our motors are a very similar design, obviously just on different scales. So obviously the motor is just one issue to address, right? There's a lot of frustrations owners have with their hair dryers and did have with their hair dryers. So it's one thing to generate fast airflow and dry your hair quickly. It's a whole nother thing to do that while preserving your hair's health. So we actually study hair. We study a lot of hair. We have studied over 1,100 miles of human hair, testing our products just to make sure that we are preserving owners' hair health. So we've actually developed our own test methods, and we are constantly developing our own test methods because there's not many things out there that are doing what we're doing here. So like I said, we have measured over 1,100 miles of hair just in the development of the Dyson Supersonic, not with our other products. So when hair is exposed to extreme temperatures, you can get these small pores that can form in the strands. This is actually your cuticle separating, and this is going to scatter light in all directions, thus reducing your shine. Damaged hair also absorbs water pretty quickly, and it can cause your strands to swell, frizz, and as hair is getting frizzy and damaged, it's probably going to fracture, right? You're going to get a lot of breakage. So the Dyson Supersonic actually uses a glass bead thermistor coupled with one of our microprocessors to control the heat from our heating element and measures the air temperature at over 40 times a second, ensuring that no matter what temperature you set it at, it's going to stay that temperature. So once we've researched and done all of our testing in the lab, it's actually time to test it on humans. So there's a human element when it comes to design. You can't just test something in a lab, especially something that customers are going to use. You actually need to test with humans. So at Dyson, we use a lot of rapid prototyping, cardboard modeling, 3D printing, stuff like that, and we have some really extensive facilities in all of our RDD places to do that. So we develop our own test methods and our own standards to test on, sometimes in conjunction with national bodies, but a lot of the times we do stuff in-house. And like you'll see on the screen above me, we actually test on humans as well. Just because, like I said, there is a human element, especially when it comes to your own hair. It is very personal. It is something you have on the top of your head. You're going to want to preserve its health. So with that, I will hand it over to Sammy to talk more about the award.
Cool. Sounds good. And then something to note too, after we go through the opportunity with the award, we want to open it up for questions as well. But now that you know more about how Dyson uses the design process to solve problems that others ignore, this is an opportunity for you to share your own game-changing ideas. So ultimately, the James Dyson Award is our annual international design and engineering competition. It's open for university students and recent graduates within 4 years of graduating. And the brief, it's really broad, but it's very Dyson. It is design something that solves a problem. And the entries that go far in the competition and those that win are always putting the problem they're solving at the forefront of their design. Once again, very much following our Dyson ethos. A little bit about like what the prize looks like is, so once entries close on July 19th, we have national judging that happens all over the world. So the award operates in 30 different markets. Kate was a judge for the US national part of it, and then Canada's as well. So she's seen a lot of entries into the competition. My role in it is I moderate the entries. I help students answer questions, but we also have a judge here too. So take advantage of that and ask some great questions. But ultimately, at the national level, we will have 30 national winners from all over the world. They win $5,000. There'll be 2 runners up from the US. And also across the world as well. So we have about like 85 to 90 finalists that will then be reviewed by a panel of our Dyson judges. They're Dyson engineers from across the globe. They'll create their top 20 shortlist. From there, James Dyson actually sees the top 20 shortlist with his like right-hand engineer, and they'll go through it and ultimately pick the global winners, and he takes a lot of pride in it, and it's really neat that he's actually able to see young minds' inventions. And so, I mean, I think that's really cool, but then he'll select the international runner-up, which is a cash prize of $6,000, but then ultimately the international winner receives a prize of $35,000, and then the sustainability winner is also selected by James, and it's a cash prize of $35,000. But ultimately, I'd say like the biggest like bonus or reward for winning is ultimately getting the media exposure. So winners or finalists work with our Dyson PR and comms team and get that exposure to media to ultimately, that from just what past finalists have said, that's really helped them further get connected to investors, to get connected to experts in their field, and just like get the name out there. So here is, so Judith is actually, she was a grad student from here, and so I wanted to share her idea. She's awesome, to be honest. I've gotten to know her a little bit just from her winning the international award. She actually entered through Spain because she went, her undergrad was done at University of Barcelona, I believe, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, don't quote me on that, but I do know that she's from Barcelona, and so she ultimately did her undergrad there, and then she was here doing more research, which she invented the blue box. Are you guys familiar with the blue box at all?
Hear about it.
Cool, yeah.
Almost 2 million women are diagnosed every year with breast cancer in the world. We know there's a problem here, but little is being done.
Design awards are usually about making products that look beautiful, but that's only a tiny part of the story. The importance of the award is that it challenges young people to solve a problem.
We're designing the Blue Box, a new biomedical device for breast cancer screening. We do have the mammogram, but a lot of women complain that the mammogram is painful, which is one of the main reasons why 40% of women in America are skipping this screening, and it's irradiated. Although its dose is not substantial enough to be considered harmful, we need a better solution. When I was studying biomedical engineering, the professor told us about the dog that was able to sniff the exhaled breath of the patients, and the dog would bark if the patient had cancer. Different research groups in the world were trying to emulate the nose of the dog in a breadboard and a microprocessor. They were calling it the electronic nose. So I built my own electronic nose. Every second that the urine is inside the blue box, this box is sending the signal to the cloud. where our artificial intelligence algorithm is hosted. Then this signal will go back to the phone so the user gets a result. Every time that some woman gets screened, this woman would be feeding this artificial intelligence algorithm with new data. So you are helping the next woman that will come after you have a better diagnosis. And in the middle of all this process, my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. So that just continued to make it even more meaningful to pursue this project.
Hello Judy, it's James Dyson here, behind the mask. Congratulations on your entry. It's such a good idea, and I'm very pleased to announce that you're the winner of the James Dyson Award, the global winner this year. So many congratulations. Well done. Two very, very close members of my family had breast cancer, and both my parents died of cancer. So it's wonderful to see such a brilliant idea and a brilliant design. So well done.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to hear that, honestly.
What we dream is a world in which every household has one of those blue boxes, giving every woman the possibility to get screened at home, giving them the power to own their own health. Now, thanks to the James Dyson Award, we're going to be able to patent it to a lot of new countries. We know that this device is 95% accurate. If the blue box can really finally reach the market, it can be empowering for every woman in the world.
Cool. So Judith was not able to join, but she did. I did a recording with her. So she's going to walk you through her, she's going to further walk you through the blue box. And also, if you have any questions specifically for her, let me know and I can get you connected to her or ask the questions and get back to you on it.
Can I ask a question real quick? Does everybody here realize that she came from UCI? Did people know that? She said,
Yeah, she's an onion.
we judged her, was it last year? Year before?
2020.
2 years ago. Yeah, those of us who are judging, we met her. And so, this is one of your peoples, just like 2 years behind you. So, totally impressive to see that she went all the way to the James Dyson Award. That's totally awesome. So,
She actually got third in the deal competition.
she did.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I'm interested to see who got first and second.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's hear from Judith. But yeah, also she's a really great resource to ask questions too. So I can give you my email and then connect you because she's great.
So hello everyone, I am Judith. I used to be a student at UCI. I studied the Masters of Embedded Cyber Physical Systems here at UCI in 2019 and 2020. And I'm also the co-founder of the Blue Box, which is a startup that won the James Dyson Award 2020. So, yeah, let's start with this presentation. Basically, so have you ever heard of dogs being able to smell cancer? Well, this is what inspired our team to build the Blue Box, which is a medical device for breast cancer testing from a urine sample. We developed that at UCI. So the first part of the project was developed at UCI together with Billy, my friend, and we studied together the masters at UCI. That's how we met, and that's where the project kind of started. So, as we told you, this project was inspired after the way that dogs are able to smell cancer, and it was basically what we did is we thought that many people in the world have breast cancer, but we sometimes lack a way to find it early enough. So we thought, how can we build a system that can detect breast cancer? Well, it turned out that this system already existed, but it existed in the physiology of a dog. So dogs can smell cancer from urine, and we just needed to translate the olfactory system of a dog into an electronics board and a PCB, and translate the olfactory cortex of the brain of the dog into an artificial intelligence-based algorithm. 1 in every 8 women will have breast cancer in the world, which is what moved us to do this project. So essentially, what does our device consist of? Well, it is a box, as the name tells you, and inside the box there are some sensors that are sensitive to breast cancer biomarkers that are also volatile organic compounds, like VOCs. That's because of their nature. They evaporate from a urine sample and they interact with our sensors. This is how we can build a device that is pain-free, non-irradiating, sensitive, and low cost as compared to a mammogram, which would be the gold standard for breast cancer testing. So, as you can see, this embedded cyber-physical device is an intersection between many fields, including artificial intelligence, sensorics, and also cyber connectivity workflow. That means that data is sent over Bluetooth to the phone and then through the internet to the cloud, where our algorithm is hosted. And this is why we built the device, because the current system is not working. The mammogram is painful, which is one of the reasons why some women are skipping it. But also, although its radiation dose is not substantial enough to be considered harmful, it still has risks. And finally, the mammogram is poorly sensitive, meaning that it's not that specific and sometimes cannot be sensitive in some patients, for example, women with fibrocystic breast. So that's why I have built a new solution. The way it works is, imagine you go to a walk-in clinic and you have a blue box there. You can get easily screened just by introducing a sample in the box, operating the device through your phone, and waiting around 30 minutes for the results. This is the application, or at least the earlier version of the application, because another important part of this process that the user introduces health-related and demographic data into the app, and this data is also used to predict breast cancer. We are using convolutional neural networks, which is a type of AI that you are probably familiar with, and it is also the type of AI that your iPhone uses to unlock your screen, because it's typically used for image-based classification methods. So to sum it up, the value that we are seeking is to create a new technology that is non-irradiating, low-cost, sensitive, non-invasive, reusable, and user-friendly. And here you can see it compared to other market products. So this was what we have done in the past, and now what's in the future. As you will see in the next slide, 1 second. Yeah. So that was our timeline, but it basically, all this process started with the James Dyson Award, because when we were students, it was just an idea. We had like a concept in our heads, we had a very early prototype, but it really became a reality thanks to the JDA. And that's because, it's not only because of the cash prize, it's also because having someone like Sir James Dyson telling you that that you have won this award, this gives you the confidence that you need, and it gives you the visibility that you need so that you can really start pursuing this project. So this is why I highly recommend everyone to apply, because this can, if you are lucky, this can like jumpstart your innovation, and this can really help you make the first consistent steps. So I would definitely do it if you're thinking about it.
Awesome. Sorry about that. And then actually too, before we get into, I actually wanted to show you really quick, because obviously the blue box is very incredible, but there's also two really successful past finalists who, I really just wanted to highlight SoPen, because I feel like there's really successful final entries that, won the award at the international level. But there's also really successful finalists that maybe became a runner-up and didn't even make it to the top 20. And their entry was basically a cardboard prototype that had chalk in it. And that's the soap pen. And where they've come now has been really incredible. They entered in 2016. And honestly, they really just developed a close relationship with Dyson and the James Dyson Award, and really like leaned into the network that it provided. And basically, actually, we're just on Shark Tank in October of 2021. And it was just really exciting to celebrate that with them. But they are two friends that invented a soap-filled pen that makes hand washing fun for kids, and they're actually caught red-handed if they're not scrubbing it off all the way. So it's when they use the pen on their hand, it takes a full 20 to 30 seconds to actually scrub off. And so then that way they are caught red-handed if they're not properly washing their hands. To, one, teach kids proper hand hygiene, but then also to prevent infectious diseases from spreading. So really cool, also very much needed in daycares. I know my nephews call it their special soap, so it's like their exciting time to wash their hands. But just thought, I think that's a good example of, and they were undergrads at the time too. So just something to think about. Where was that one? This one? Okay. So now that we have a real judge here with us, I figured Kate can go through judging criteria.
Sure, yeah. So I'll just kind of read them off, and then I will talk through kind of my judging experience across the 2 countries last year. So these are the things we're looking at. It meets the brief. It is solving a problem. 2, how it works. Love to see your design. That kind of goes into design process. We love to see how it works. We want diagrams. We want a prototype. Doesn't matter if you have a prototype, but if you have one, cool. Definitely want to see how it works. Design process. How did you get to where you are? How'd you fail? How'd you learn from that failure? We love to see that. How is it different? A lot of entries, and I noticed this last year, they're creating something that already exists. I want to know how it's different than what exists. Is it a completely new product that's addressing a problem others haven't? Or is it better than the current offering? How does it apply to the real world? How are people going to use this? Who's your target market? Things like that. Also, I love to see cost. This kind of goes into how is it different? Is it cheaper than a current alternative? Something like that. And then also, you only have like 6 questions that you fill out on the application.
Yeah. Oh, that's the next slide.
Clear, concise, and well evidenced. You don't have much room when you're putting in your application. It is 6 questions. So be clear, be concise, and be well evidenced. We do go through these entries very quickly, as Sammy was in there. We do go through them quickly. So let me walk through kind of
also,
easier on the next slide.
Something to note is their backgrounds at the national level. The judges are all different types of fields. So when you're communicating your idea, you want to keep that in mind, that it's something that you could explain to like an 8th grader, right. Or easy, clear, and concise. And we recommend not using like too much jargon in there. So yeah, because you want to be able to communicate your idea in an easy way.
In both countries, can someone say something? In both countries, I was the only engineer judge. So reading the jargon for me, fine, but for the other 2 judges, it honestly goes way over their head. So just to touch on that, it does get a little old saying, well, this means this, and me having to essentially like, not dumb it down, but like bring it more to their level. Like, you need to be kind of mindful of who your audience is. It can be tech editors, it can be engineers like myself. It can also be engineers from different backgrounds. So I have a chemical engineering background. We had quite a few entries last year that were novel chemical processes, which were really cool for me to see. But not everyone's gonna have a chemical engineering background, so that might just go way over their head. So these are the things you wanna consider, and I will walk through these individually. So what does it do? How does it work? What is the problem you are trying to address? Is it a very clear problem? One of the entries that actually won in Canada last year, it was called Taco. It is a device that attaches onto a cutting board that is meant to be used by the elderly. So typical offerings right now, it is a completely different, it is a huge thing you have to purchase, and it's a way for elderly to be self-sufficient in the kitchen and cut things on their own. But it's very expensive. Health insurance is not going to cover it, in the US especially. So it's actually something that clips onto a cutting board that they currently own, and it's a little like, it looks like something you might buy from like Umbra at Target, and it's just a little thing that clips on. You're able to slide the knife in, and elderly are able to cut at home, and it's allowing them more independence in the kitchen. That actually won in Canada, that particular idea. What is your inspiration? It's pretty easy with Blue Box, breast cancer. She knew someone who had breast cancer. The guys who won with Taco, they both volunteered at an elderly home, so they were very familiar with kind of how elderly operate in the kitchen, and they want more independence, right? What is your inspiration? It could just be something that inspires you, something that you studied, or personal connection. How does it work? What is your design process? I feel like these go pretty hand in hand. A pretty clear and concise description of how it works. What is your process? What is your product? What are the parts to it? Things like that. Drawings are always great. Diagrams are always great. Prototypes are cool, but definitely not necessary. Your design process. How have you learned? How have you grown throughout your design? Did you design it once and decide, cool, that's a really good design? Or did you try to iterate? Did you grow in your design? Definitely love to see growth, because at Dyson we're all about solving problems, and we also iterate on our own designs, as James failed 5,126 times before he got to his final design. How is it different? I touched on this earlier. Is it something that is completely new? Is it something that there is not a product out on the market like it? Taco, for example, was something that we spent, I think, 2 hours of judging, looking up, does something like Taco exist? And the answer was no. They found a very niche market and addressed it and designed a product for it. If it is something that currently exists, how is yours different from that current offering? Is it something that is cheaper than the current alternative? Is it something that is better than the current alternative? Tell us about it. We want to know. And then your future plans. Are you planning to commercialize this? Is this something you are studying for your PhD as part of that project? And then this is not obviously mandatory, but have you won any current awards with that? Just cool tidbits. So that's kind of the things we look for in judging.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up, and then we'll answer some questions. You can enter online. You can enter with a team of up to 10 students. It's required that you need to be 18 years and older, currently enrolled in university, so I'm assuming all of you are eligible to enter. Your team lead must be someone with an engineering or design background, but your team members, it can be really any majors, but just must be 18 years or older, currently enrolled in university, or within 4 years of graduating. I should mention that. Everything's online. Entries open next week on Wednesday. They close July 19th. That's when you just need to have everything entered into the website. It's a really easy application process. You can actually register, put in all your contact information, and then go back and finish the actual application process. And if you have questions, my email is on here, and I'm pretty much the one on the back end of the US side of the website. National winners are then announced on September 13th. Our international top 20 judges, which are Dyson engineers around the globe, they'll take a look at the 90 finalists, make the announcement of their top 20 shortlist on October 18th, and then from there, James Dyson looks at those top 20 and he'll announce his global winners on November 15th. And yeah, with that, do you have any questions? Mm-hmm.
You said within 4 years of university, is that undergraduate or any?
All, yeah, just as long as it's a university.
Yeah.
Any other questions? It also could be from before too.
Yeah.
So are you going to be judged this year again? Or?
It's a great question.
I don't know.
TBD. We haven't decided who our judges are, but Kate was a very valuable judge last year. But we also like to mix it up, so you never know.
And sorry, one more follow-up question. Sorry. How do you know the judges don't know the designers or someone who has submitted a design?
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't ran into that before. We like to try to keep it so that they are not going to be biased on this year's entries. So I'd say the panel of people have never actually run into knowing the student teams that are a part of it. And I think if that were the case, we'd probably have to have one of our other, another Dyson engineer from maybe a different part of the region join and hear what their thoughts were.
Yeah, and I will say as a judge, we stuck to those criteria pretty strictly. All of us had a nice little clipboard, and we went through every single entry for both the US and Canada and judge them against that criteria. We didn't really look outside of their criteria. We stick to the criteria pretty hard.
Yeah, and honestly, like you're really just looking at the criteria. It's not like looking at their university or their like extracurriculars. Like you're strictly looking at just
right. Like we have entries from MIT and stuff like that. I went to a like normal state school. Like to be honest, like I don't care where you went to university, especially for engineering. A lot of us are getting ABET accredited degrees. Every ABET accredited degree is going to be roughly the same because it is a curriculum that they are required to teach to have an ABET accreditation. So you're all learning the same stuff. You just might have different access to resources. So it doesn't matter where you went to university or, quite frankly, what you studied unless it falls under that engineering and design. Yes?
What have we got a microphone?
Oh.
Sammy would know.
No, this is for people in the info session so they can hear.
Oh, cool.
Do you want to re-ask the question?
Just so people in the replay can hear. It's not going to get loud in here. It'll be the same volume.
How many entries do you usually get?
Yeah, so we get, last year we had like around 2,000 globally, which really isn't a crazy ton, but from the US we typically have about like 100, which isn't as much as what you would think. So to be honest, if you have a really game-changing idea, definitely do it.
Don't be scared of the Dyson name. I know you're probably thinking like, this is like it's Dyson, right? Like
it's not though.
I shouldn't enter because like everyone's gonna enter. As Sammy said, we had like 100-ish entries for the US. Like don't be scared to enter. If you have an idea that you're proud of and you want to enter it, please do.
You do miss 100% of the shots you don't take though.
There you go.
That was on every single syllabus from my undergrad. So.
And you know who said that?
Ryan Vaughn?
The greatest hockey player of all time?
It's Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky said that, yes.
And something, what was I going to say? It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
It was about.
Do most of your entries originate from research labs?
No.
No, they're from all over.
They're from all over. We get a good mix of capstone projects, research teams,
just
single
like
students
hobbies.
that have ideas.
Last year's winner was a student from the US and Canada. They met on this online forum that they both were like into solving a sustainability issue, and they basically like came up with polyformer rich. It's a pretty cool design, but they actually had heard about it from the Canadian student. He heard about it from his university. He applied 5 times in a row with like different inventions, and then got connected with this like US student, and like they ended up winning and were the sustainability winners this past year.
Yeah.
And then used the money to go to Rwanda and deployed their invention to different like maker spaces in the area to like get their feedback so they can make iterations to ultimately make their design better.
Can I ask another one, just real quick?
Yeah. Yeah, one more. Yeah, go ahead.
What is the most popular industry of your applicants?
Oh, that's a good question.
I saw a lot of mechanical engineers. People
And
tend
designers.
to design. A
Yeah,
lot of
design.
mechanical engineers and a lot of like product design students. I think
And
students tend to think we're a product company, so I'm only going to enter products. It can be anything. Design something that solves a problem. App, chemical process. One of the entries last year was something for beer brewing, which was really cool. Solving a problem that they're passionate about, and they had a really solid design. So it can honestly be from any background. I think typically students are just, they think product company, I must be a product engineer, and that's not the case. Dyson, as a company, we have a lot of varied backgrounds, so we want a lot of varied entries as well.
Also too, like teams, so I feel like you've often see teams where the team lead might be like a designer or engineer, but I mean they have support from people with all different types of backgrounds too. So it's all over, right?
Yeah.
So it is kind of off topic, but my question is, do you know James Dyson personally? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. So I being on his, we're not best friends or anything. I mean, that'd be cool. But no, being on the foundation side, I am able to share updates with him. So it is kind of neat to be able to at least meet with him at least once a year.
Yeah.
That's really cool. How about you, Kate?
I have never personally met him, but I think one of my claim to fame is I'm working on this project right now that somehow trickled. It was started as my idea. I can't really share too much. Started as my idea. Dyson is really they love championing their people's ideas, and if it's a really solid idea, they give you the green light to go. So it actually was presented all the way up to James, who gave it his green light, and I found that really cool. So now I'm working on a multi-year project for something that started as just an idea to solve a problem.
Yeah, that's the coolest part I think about working for Dyson is like, one, the problem solving. You use that in every single part of the aspect of whatever job you're doing, but I think like the innovation, and he does very much like empower young people to want to make a difference. And if you do have an idea and you're like, here's what a solution is, like put a proposal together, you pitch it, and like you kind of get to just go with it. And like you're gonna fail maybe, but like maybe not. And I feel like it's like we're all about learning from failure, and so people at Dyson are very willing to like listen to ideas and like let you run with it.
Yep.
So I think that's the best part about working there, here.
Anyone else?
So first of all, thank you for being here and highlighting Blue Box, of course. Two questions for you. First one may be easier than the second. Do computer scientists count as engineers?
Yes.
Variations of, or something
Yes.
like that? Okay, great. That's good. Yay, computer scientists. And the second one is more about that process of evidencing, as you called it. How much does primary research in the design process, iterating based upon customer feedback, how much does that matter? And how do you have you found that the really successful teams have done those iterations, or do they tend to just have a great idea and a good prototype and they're at that earlier stage?
No, I know Dyson personally, like as a company, my role as reliability engineer is listening to our owners, right? I'm listening to their feedback, I'm gathering their feedback, and I'm gathering their issues and frustrations and feeding those back into product design. The biggest example of that is we re-engineered our air wrap, almost based solely on customer feedback. They were frustrated that they kept having to change the barrel to change the curl direction. They were frustrated with our current hairdryer situation on the air wrap. They were also frustrated with the brushes. They just didn't work very well, and they were honestly some of our least used attachments. So as Dyson personally, in my role, we listen to customers and we listen to owners. When it comes to the award, I think that is very important, because it's one thing to have a really solid design and a really solid prototype, but if it's something that's meant for people and people have not looked at it, they're going to look at it and probably just be like, well, I have feedback. They're going to let you know. If someone doesn't like something, they're going to let you know, especially if it is something that they are going to use. So I think it's really good to, if it is a product like that, or even if you just want peer review, obviously a lot of us are in the scientific community, peer review is a big part of that, getting other people to look at your project as well, especially outsiders.
But we also don't want to turn away entries that aren't at that phase yet. Like Sung Yu, I feel like is a good example of that. She was our national US winner. She invented a scoliosis brace that's customizable, and also
it grows with you.
Yes, and she wasn't at the phase yet. She basically was using the James Dyson Award. By getting to that next phase, it was helping her then get into hospitals to get those patient trials. So she wasn't at the phase yet, but like she had plans to do so. So in the entry, there's like, what are your future plans? If testing is what your future plans is, like put it in there.
Let us know. Yeah.
And like I said, you enter the first year, there doesn't mean you can't enter the next year, but we do want to see that if you do enter back-to-back years, that like you've made drastic changes. But you can enter multiple times.
You got the mic. We'll
Congratulations, by the way, for having Dyson champion one of your ideas.
Thank you. So it was a big honor. I got a little email about it. It was
congrats.
Good job.
That's awesome. So having, I guess, that perspective, could you speak a little bit about maybe the assistance that Dyson provides, or the perspective in terms of the legalese, or like the legalities of intellectual property, and like what happens? Do they help you, or is it just kind of like on your own?
Sammy can speak to that, but essentially whatever you submit, that's your idea. We are just all about helping you further ideas. So we would not take any credit for something that you have produced, because that is your IP.
Yeah. It's all under the terms and conditions too. So like if you do have questions about it, it's all listed on our site.
Unless you ripped off a
make you
Dyson
feel better.
design. I mean, it's really hard-handed.
I wanted to ask more about how many ideas can I submit? For example, if I have 5, can I submit all 5s back to back in one
Yep.
In 1 year? There's no limit on that?
They must just be different projects. You can't
Okay.
submit your same project 5 times, thinking it'll like be like a raffle. But no, it just must be different projects.
And how about the like these like inventors, better say, who submit their ideas or proposals? What would they get out of this if even they're not moved on to the next stage, or even if they're moved on to the next stage? Would they like the connections and all the things that you talk about, like how they can get that? Like what other things besides money prizes does Dyson, money and like the publicity Dyson Award provides?
Yeah, and you could probably speak to this from being an engineering student, but I'd say like the first is like just getting your invention out there is helpful. Like you basically could search. As soon as you submit your entry, you can submit James Dyson Award, type in your name of your invention, and it automatically is like pulled up on Google. So you automatically get your name out there. And I mean, we've had past finalists that really didn't go far at all, but they were like, people on LinkedIn are reaching out to us because they saw our like, yeah, they're on the landing page of the website. So that's like, if you have an idea, it's like such a good just first step to get it out there. And then we've also had past finalists just say like, it helped us actually just take the time to answer each application question in a way that makes sense to an audience of multiple fields. So it was good experience to do that, because that ultimately then helped them for future competitions, for future questions they're going to have to answer for investors.
Yeah.
But yeah, you
and
probably
then
can
coming
answer
from
it better.
like engineering background, developing something is really expensive. Like $35,000 is only going to go so far, right? Like you can only build so many prototypes, you can only do so much marketing with $35,000. The biggest thing that a winner gets out of this is PR. So they'll work with Dyson PR, depending on which country they're in. And that's honestly what Sammy has heard from some of the entrants is the biggest thing, is they're getting exposure out there. You know, Aerie, for example, the scoliosis brace, getting exposure. Like doctors might hear about Aerie, like a scoliosis doctor might hear about Aerie and reach out and be like, I've heard about your invention and I want to work with you. $35,000 might not get you something like that. $35,000 might enable you to print a couple more prototypes, maybe rent a lab space or two. But again, that's only going to get you so far. It's about getting your name out there. That's really important.
Yeah, Judith actually just mentioned, because it was really cool. We did an internal event where internal event with Dyson people. We invited Judith to talk to our people across the Americas. And then we also brought in the American Cancer Society. And it was really cool to talk about how like American Cancer Society is finding a cure for cancer, while Judith's finding a early detection, or creating an early detection device, and then how they're just both attacking it on different angles. And that was just a really cool like internal event that we did, but it ultimately got Judith connected to American Cancer Society, and she was able to ask certain questions that helped her with the blue box. So to be honest, like I also think it has to do a lot with like the winner themselves, and like the kind of like drive that they have of like the like where am I going with this? Like the desire for them to also want to like raise their hand, participate in these things to get further connected also.
All right, final questions as we wrap up.
Mine's really quick.
Sure.
I know you mentioned that the lead for the individual projects have to be either design or mechanical.
Just any engineering.
Any engineering. So
and computer science falls under that.
Under engineering.
Perfect. So I don't know if
All right, last call for questions. All right, here's my final question. How many people here are genuinely interested, based on this conversation and the fact that you have a chance of winning? How many people are going to actually apply and get in this thing? All right, get those hands up. What about you guys? No? Okay, what have you, how many, wait. Raise your hand if you're going to compete. Raise your hand. Up to 10 people on a team. Okay, put your hands down. How many people don't have an idea but want to compete? Okay, so there's a lot of connectivity here, all right? Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you may want to participate because you have an idea, and you might want to participate, but you don't have a good idea. So we want to make sure to encourage people to use the center as a way to catalyze and get connected, because 10 people is a big team. So just because you don't feel like you have an idea right now, please don't discredit yourself for this. Again, this could be an opportunity to join a team and just get that experience. And maybe next year you have your own idea. So one more time, how many people are going to either apply or consider joining a team? Raise your hands. We got a little bit, okay, a little bit more. All right, final words of inspiration, because we got like at least 3/4 of the people, and then those that didn't raise their hand, they're going to like wake up in the middle of the night and go, I'm going to do this. Final words of inspiration here.
Sure. Continue to problem solve. Think of things differently of what people aren't solving. And also just like keep learning from your failures and try it out. And you'll learn something new every time. But also, you can enter to win a Dyson machine. We have a survey that we just like want to know where you guys hear about awards like this, like where you guys go, so we can best try to engage other students like from UCI but across the US too. So can I send you it's a Microsoft form. Yeah. If you guys can just fill it out, you can need to fill it out by April 30th and you can enter to win a machine. So
all right,
please do so.
Thank you everybody. Thank you everybody.
Thank you.